This chart shows the current health of North American churches, and the data reveals a sobering reality. Right now, over 70% of congregations fall into this massive block. They are completely plateaued or actively declining. When growth stops, the organization's energy shifts. The church begins to function in maintenance mode, prioritizing internal logistics and the comfort of existing members over the mission of reaching the lost. This happens because of a natural force called institutional gravity. Without a deliberate, outward-facing strategy, every organization will automatically drift towards self-preservation and internal survival. To break that pull, you need a structured approach. Over the next 90 days, we will audit your current operations, restructure your pathways, and implement a systematic revitalization plan. Reversing the decline requires a fundamental shift in operation. Survival depends on moving past individual charisma and toward reliable, mission-focused systems. Step 1 begins with the leadership. Think of the airplane's safety instructions. You have to secure your own oxygen mask before helping anyone else. As a leader, you cannot revive a struggling organization if you are spiritually and emotionally suffocating. Protecting yourself from burnout requires specific daily habits. You must carve out time for outcome-free prayer, simply being in the presence of God without a specific agenda, and study the text to nourish your own soul, not just to prepare your next sermon. Once you are calibrated, you have to address the team. Internal leadership conflict is the primary driver of pastoral burnout, causing an estimated 1,400 pastors to leave the ministry every single month. You cannot ignore this friction or let passive-aggressive traditions dictate your culture. You must confront disputes directly, privately, and redemptively, rather than sweeping them under the rug. A unified, spiritually healthy leadership team is the mandatory foundation for everything else. Without it, any strategic plan you try to implement will collapse under the weight of internal division. This diagram compares two models of operation. On the left, a personality-driven church depends entirely on one central leader to hold everything together. On the right, a systems-driven church relies on an interconnected network of teams to carry the load. To build that robust system, you have to eliminate internal maintenance tasks, like arguing over facility usage, and replace them with external actions that actually address the expressed needs of your local community. This timer illustrates the 7-minute rule. Visitors decide whether they are accepted or rejected within the first 7 minutes of arriving on your campus. That decision is driven by 3 distinct milestones: parking, signage, and the front door greeting. Because your existing members are blind to these initial barriers, you need to schedule a mystery visitor audit. Send someone unknown to the congregation to walk through your doors and objectively measure those early interactions. Once they are inside, retention requires a strict follow-up protocol. You must send a text or make a phone call within 24 hours of their visit, and follow up with a handwritten note within 48 hours. Biblical hospitality functions as a measurable system. Growing churches use these protocols to achieve guest return rates of nearly 30%, whereas churches relying on a general sense of friendliness often see that number drop below 10%. Once a guest returns, the focus shifts from the front door to the long-term journey. However, a system can only move people if the destination is clear, and most leadership teams lack a shared, concrete description of what a mature disciple actually looks like. This flowchart maps the solution, a clear, 4-step discipleship pathway. It deliberately moves a person from initial evangelism to community connection, outward to missional living, and finally into active multiplication. Take the time to audit all your existing ministries. If a program does not actively push members along this specific 4-step pathway, you need to cut it or restructure it immediately. As people move through this pathway, they need guidance. Churches don't lack volunteers. They lack a systematic mentoring process. This is the leadership gap. To close it, leaders must use a 5-step progression. Start with I do, you watch, move through guided practice, and end with you mentor someone else. Sustainable growth happens when an organization stops gathering passive consumers and starts manufacturing active disciple makers who are fully equipped to replace the current leadership. You now have the components of your 90-day revitalization plan: securing the spiritual foundation, resolving conflict, executing the guest audit, and building the discipleship pipeline. But there is one final barrier to executing this plan: the current leadership's deeply ingrained fear of releasing control. You have to allow new volunteers the space to try, fail, and learn. Maintaining a centralized doing model inevitably leads to leader burnout. Shifting to an equipping model means trusting and empowering imperfect people to carry the mission. Take this finalized blueprint to your board, assign clear ownership of these systems to your team, and initiate the transition immediately. The health of the church relies on a released body. By shifting to a model of equipped multiplication, every member becomes a mission carrier, ensuring the work of the gospel continues long after the current leadership transitions.